social justice this year was able to participate in a tour to Africa to view some of the work that OPSU has done. So it was an experience of a lifetime. I think everybody needs to experience it themselves. It's hard to tell you about the emotion that you feel. I'm getting emotional now.
September 4th, early morning, we left Toronto to the long 19-hour flight to Johannesburg. And then we stayed there overnight and left again early in the morning to Malawi. And we met Doug Miller and got on our Sputnik bus, which is a pretty small bus, but it managed to hold 10, 11 people.
What struck us is how he had managed, with some help, to pack all of our suitcases, because each one of us had brought at least an extra suitcase jam-packed with donations. And he had managed to layer 2 levels of suitcases and tied them down, plus suitcases inside of the Sputnik, and somehow we miraculously all managed to fit in this little van. And it was our mode of transportation for the week that we were in Malawi.
We went there 4 years ago to Malawi, and Smokey Thomas, with the president, and assistant Ron Levine, went to the village. We decided about 5 years ago to begin funding small community projects, and one of them was Makupo Development Project in the village in Malawi. And what we have supported there in the last 5 years is, first of all, solar lighting for the village, where we actually installed solar lights in 12 houses. We built a well.
We saw firsthand the results of OPSU's donations, the well that cut travel time and the distances traveled for other villages to come and get water, you know, from 5 miles down to 2.5, from 6 down to 3, from 1 to a half a mile.
We have given some funds for a second well to be built in this village called Nguo village. So that's where Makupo villages were taking us on the second day.
You didn't realize the transformation that it made for these villages. I mean, water is the blood of life in Africa. And if you would have seen where they got the water prior to us putting the well in, you wouldn't believe that people actually drank it. So it really touched me. I mean, the celebration they had was like a major festival honoring us. And even though our predecessors from OPSU, Smokey and them, they actually put it in, and some of us didn't have anything to do with it. We were so touched by, their reaction to us and how we transformed the communities.
The well had just opened while we were there, and it was probably about a 3-hour event. Everyone in the community wanted to do something, but one of the most powerful things for me was this young girl, probably about 7 years of age, who had written a poem about how happy she was that OPSU was there to help. And in the poem she talked about how happy she was that she no longer had to worry about dying of diarrhea. And no 7-year-old girl ever should have to worry about that, in my opinion.
That brought the entire group to tears. I mean, I took that back and was so touched. I said to my family, like, we have to do something. So talking to my local, talking to my place of employment, we've decided that we will commit to raising money towards a well. So we're getting the word out that way, that water is life.
When you see the children and you see the lack of food, the lack of education, the lack of supplies, that we are so lucky as Canadians to have the things that we do have.
Get your face, about that little girl? There she is smiling. Okay, yeah, everybody's smiling.
The food that we were provided with was, for the 12 of us, was probably what I would serve to my family of 4. So it was minimal, but it was nutritious, and we were able to survive.
That's a pile of porridge there, man. Yeah.
We've built a piggery specifically for the women as an economic project for the women of the village. As well as that, we built a hostel, and that's where we stayed. People will say, why would you build a hostel in the village? The project thought, why not, ask for some small amounts of funds to build a hostel where people could come and stay while they're volunteering, so that we're not putting people out of their houses, because that's what would happen. People would say, no, I'll go and, sleep in my sister's house while you take over this house. But with 10 of us there, and sometimes there's more people on these other tours.
The first day we went to the schools and toured the schools, and I think that was a little bit emotional for some of the people that were there. The students were very polite. They were very receptive to us being there. In fact, one of the students asked if I would stay and teach because he knew I was a teacher. So that was kind of a compliment to me. But so you know that there's a need for education, and they're really wanting to do wanting to fulfill their education, and they know that education is the answer to coming out of poverty.
A number of members in the region that were collecting medical supplies for me from doctors who had medical supplies in excess that wanted to go overseas. I brought 12 cases of syringes to a church-run hospital that had very little funding in Malawi. They were doing some amazing work, but struggling with lack of resources.
May the Almighty God bless you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
When we left the village in Malawi, I remember quite vividly crying when I got to the village and crying when I left the village. And the tears were different though.
From there, we went back to South Africa, and we spent 2 weeks in South Africa. And in particular, we were there to look at Stephen Lewis Foundation project.
We've been working closely with them with their HIV/AIDS project in Africa, and they have expanded, and they are doing a lot more work with the grandmothers from Africa. We were able to see an orphanage that they were involved with, and also a lot of the school programs where they feed the children, because a lot of the children are very undernourished, and as a result their growth is stunted, and it's just fabulous work that they do.
Our approach is we take our cues from the African communities themselves, from the experts, because we know that if change happens, and when it happens, it's because communities are empowered and they get mobilized. And that connects to the labor movement. From the beginning, the Foundation's strongest supporter and most dedicated supporter has been the trade union movement, and in particular OPSU. And it's because OPSU, like us, believes in grassroots community action. And OPSU, like us, knows that if we're going to turn the tide of the AIDS pandemic, it's because local activists are empowered.
The projects themselves are wonderful, and the programs that they're involved in the townships are quite amazing. Especially the music that they're promoting amongst youth. So music which transcends their traumatic lives.
Marimba, that was music therapy. And when we went to that program, I was kind of, after you're at the orphanage and you know, the kitchens for the schools, I thought this was kind of a fluffy, a kind of program. It turned out to be one of the best days and one of the my favorite days of the whole tour.
What's exciting for us is that some of the young women marimba players that we saw in the township in Nyanga, near Cape Town, are coming here on November the 8th. The Stephen Lewis Foundation is bringing them for their big gala on November the 7th to perform alongside Angelique Kidjo and Annie Lennox and, you know, other big stars. So these 3 young women from the townships in South Africa are coming, and OPSU is going to have them come to lunch on November the 8th and hopefully play some marimba as well, but not just to perform, but to have an exchange with them about life in South Africa.
Their dream that they would love also to play in another part of the world. So it was a dream come true for them to be here in Canada in the 75th birthday of Stephen Lewis Foundation.
Okay, for myself, I feel happy. I forget about all things that make me feel bad. And yeah, it's a good thing to reveal stress.
I can definitely see the change OPSU's made in the lives of the people that they've come into contact with. It's great. I mean, OPSU working with the Stephen Lewis Foundation in South Africa, not just in Malawi, it's impacted lives greatly.
To go there firsthand and to see all this stuff and know that you know, our money, as little as it is, has done all this work, really made me proud to be an OPSU member.
This is where labor symbolically and practically and concretely can do so much when we connect our struggles with the international struggles for the same goals that we all face.
I hope that the Executive Board of OPSU and our 2 other boards, the Live and Let Live Fund and the International Solidarity Fund, I hope we continue to actually grow and expand and do more trips with more people. And to anybody that says, well, I don't think that's a good use of union money, I would challenge anybody on any day that says that, because it is the greatest use of our resources and our human power that we could ever make, is to reach out and help another people in another country that are less well off than ourselves.
Malawi.